it's good to see that Baba, like everybody feels like embarrassed playing Baba because like the solutions are, when written on a page, simple. I'm using air quotes here, but like your brain just fights the 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 method so hard that you're
It
just like, why can't,
it presents
it was like
itself
that.
as something that you should be able to clear in an hour or two tops. It presents itself that way. And you know what the real damage after playing it with and Reggie saw it for the first time there. The real damage was pointing out afterwards that it's like, by the way, we cleared like 6 stages over the
Yeah,
course of the entire day.
infinitesimal amount.
You know, and that's the damage. Yeah, yeah. That's
and
a
it, and it and it's drawn up like a game for children,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like visually presented, and it's like a little sheep named Baba, and it's like, oh man.
It's uniquely cruel in how it in what it asks of you, because the way I was kind of putting it together, especially watching through now, you know, again in the beginning of it, and then pushing up against the limits of where I got to last time, and it feels as if Baba Is You is basically asking you to, within a matter of like 3 or 4 like steps, start doing the things that speedrunners figure out like over the course of years to make their games like jank into success, you know?
It wants you to acknowledge a system of rules per situation, and then figure out how you can modify those rules to your benefit in a way that is like, I guess programmers and
Yeah, yeah.
theoretical physicists might have an easier time with it. But I
Engineers.
don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Like,
remember when Paige played it on her stream, we had like a fucking 20-minute like screaming session
mm-hmm.
where like the concept of Baba can be not Baba just wasn't
Yeah. Yeah.
hitting because it is not intuitive.
um like there's a unique thing to that game. There's a unique fear that like when you play a puzzle game and it introduces the rules, those rules tend to then get tested by introducing new variables, new elements, right? And so you progress, let's say, through the third world in a way where they're like, okay, now that you've gotten the basics of all the usual things, here's a wall, here's a flag, right? Here's a key. Oh shit. Oh, keys and the concept of open and the concept of close,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you go, all right, now here's the and word, and oh, here's a robot and it'll move, and you're like, oh, okay, we're getting complex, right? So each new layer of puzzle introduces this extra layer of complexity that you're like, yeah, this is how it goes in puzzle games. And then you'll get to another level upon succeeding a complex one, where the level itself is the most basic, simple 2 points of input to like solution
Just,
required.
but it appears to be functionally impossible.
And the fear that comes in when it's like it's not the adding of elements, it's the subtracting. So it's like you get a test on like, okay, now you've learned all the letters and all the numbers, and now you know how to write, and you can, and then it's like, okay, now take away the complex things and just go down to the basics, and can you handle the basics again? And it's like, I can, but they're impossible. There's nothing there to play with. Like it just functionally does anyway.
It reminds me, honestly, Wordle is a decent point for this, because it has this situation where the other day, 3-4 days ago, Wordle had a word in which it had only a single vowel, and the single vowel in it was Y,
Right.
which is
Mm-hmm.
insanely rare in
Mm-hmm.
English.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, you've deleted 99.9% of all possible words.
Mm-hmm.
And you even get the Y location on green. And then despite the fact that you know the word, you stare at it for like 40 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
trying every permutation of letters because none of them sound like words in your head anymore until
Uh,
you get like 4 in.
I got that one. It wasn't too bad because I basically like there's a rule that I'm realizing to Wordle that's been pretty clean ever since. But it's like it's always it's always a common word. It's never a really rare weird word. Like even that one
I
is like that is not super common, but it's never a purple word. You know what I mean?
I would never say that knoll or epoxy are common words.
Okay. Okay, fair. It's
Epoxy was one that I'm looking at, and it's like I don't think I've had a person in my life say this word to me out loud.
okay. What I've noticed is like there are times when a extremely like there are times when a word that is like a borrowed word from another language, for example, would
Yeah.
fit in, and I go, "There's zero chance it'll be that." Right?
Yeah, I get caught all the time because I'm like I put in a word that like is a French word that I hear people use in English.
Yeah.
Like, nope, doesn't
And
work, doesn't
it'll
count.
never be that. It'll be the one that's it'll be an English word, and it'll be a word that like you've probably read, you know, like somewhere. Um, but yeah. Anyway, there's guesses that I have that I'm like that would fit, but it just strikes me as too uncommon to be used. But admittedly, yeah, there are those examples where, um, you know, those are on the fringes, I'd say. In any case, Baba though, um, it was pretty funny because it's like, okay, so well, yeah, I guess to go into it, like I had a week, played some stuff, but in particular, yesterday was a fundraising stream we did for charity, and part of that was playing Baba Is You and experiencing the maximum threshold of anguish possible, and then when self care was required, switching over to Kirby.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Excellent plan. Worked out great. Very happy with that. And really, what it did was it just kind of like it was always fun to it's fun to see like you know Reggie kind of figure that shit out for the first time and whatnot. And then later when I'm like, all right, it's my turn. I'll suffer for a bit, and I'm going through the levels, and like there's this like moment of like, haha, since I was teasing Reggie earlier, the antagonism is gonna turn its head back around on me.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
like, oh shit, here it comes, right? And he's like egging me on. And then it's like, hold on a minute. You don't have the solution either. You don't know what the fuck is, neither of us knows what the fuck is going on. Like the moment that shell breaks, it's like, okay, no, we're both just struggling here. So it's like, okay, what if like even in a situation where I'm sitting there looking at it, and then Reggie's like, "I've got some tips," and like, let's like go for like a co-op solve. It's like, no, it's not making it any better because the game's rules are nothing. They mean nothing. The concept of consistency means nothing to this game. There are no solutions that are like even when there's a solution that is like, hey, we taught you something a couple levels ago, now do it again.
Mhm.
It's like do it again, but break it now that we've taught you how to do it. You know, which
Yeah,
is
when
making it makes you a good tester. Certainly, the way you solve puzzles in this game makes you really good at QA. But it's fucking infuriating.
when Paige was going through it, I kept having like I think it happened like 6, 7, 8 puzzles where I'm watching it. I'm like, yeah, I think I got it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then she's getting so frustrated. I'm like, well, obviously, all you have to do is this. So she does it, and it doesn't work for shit. And I'm like, oh, I don't know the answer either, at
Yeah,
all,
yeah,
like at all.
yeah. And like you know, like literally took a break to just recharge, get a burger, and like, dude's just like, why does it not feel good when you solve these puzzles, you know? And it's like, because it's not fair. It doesn't feel like you're solving it because you thought up a complex solution to the problem. It feels like you bullshitted your way to the answer, and
Mm-hmm.
the game went, ha, yeah, that's what it was all along. Lol. You know, and then it just moves you to the next one. It feels unceremonious for the struggle.
It's been like a long-standing like game design idea that puzzles don't need to be smart, but they need to make you feel smart. And Baba shits all over that
Yeah.
because the puzzles are smart, but they make you feel fucking stupid. They make you feel like a dumbass.
Yeah. Um no, the Annihilator, the long suffering one yesterday was like it involved just um stuff that like happened incidentally when you were solving other puzzles, but wasn't really to be taken seriously. Like while you're moving things around, there's some weird interactions sometimes, you know, and you don't register them because why would you, you know? And then you're just like, and then you get into this place where you're like, oh my god, okay, hold on, stop. I have to go back to the beginning again, and I have to go, what rules have I created for consistency that basically the way that human beings survive is to see and learn and internalize, right? What rules are
Right.
there? If I pour this water out, it's going to spill and go on the tech and it'll be bad and then it'll wet everything around me. Like it's just this is what happens when you pull. So then you have to stop and go, "No, wait, hold on. What if but have I tested the water to see if it would spill?" You know? And then have I tested if I could push the water? Like maybe,
It's
you know, if the water doesn't have the property of wet, then it's not going to be a problem.
I would describe Baba Is You as nonsensical, but in the strict terms of the use nonsensical. Usually when people say something's nonsensical, they mean like, I don't get it, or it's a mess or whatever. It's like, no, I mean it in the thing of the experience of understanding Baba Is You does not conform to the neat expectations of the five senses. In
Hmm.
that, if it were a real world equivalent, it would literally make no sense, which is the root of that. And it's like it constantly asks you to internalize a concept and then throw it away immediately after you internalized it or pull it back out.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing in the real world functions like that. If I drop this glass of milk in that part of the house, it's not going to go up if I just label up on it. And obviously game logic and all that, but it's just like you're trying to work through it in a logical perspective, but it wants to, I don't know, it's rules. It's rules. It's programming rules.
It is, and that's
Which
but and the
it's
thing is that,
outside my realm.
and then you get into this place where you're like, oh my god, there are no rules. There's no rules. The only rule is Baba Is You. Nothing else is a rule. There, like it's all. But then it's like, no. Third examination, there are rules, but like
But
they're
they're syntax rules.
and you can only but it's not just syntax rules, but like there are okay, so there are syntax rules, for example, where it's like like strings, like text must go top to bottom or left to right. That's a
Right.
rule. No one
Yeah.
says that's a rule, but you must discover that's a rule. Furthermore, text can push text, but text doesn't push objects, right? Unless otherwise stated. But the interaction you have with text is not the same as the interaction you have with other objects, unless of course text is introduced as a variable. You know, so then you're like, okay, but then now you have a world rule, but even that isn't called into question anyway. So
It reminds me of Einstein talking about how there's no privileged reference point in space, which was a response to people using the Earth in all of their calculations and basing everything off of that. And it's like, no, the right math and physics will work anywhere, but also velocity is always relative, blah blah blah, because it's velocity according to something else, because nothing's actually staying still anywhere ever. And Baba is like, yeah, the reality is relative. It's real. It's relative to chosen statement. You're not playing as Baba unless you are. The flag is not win unless it is, etc.
only thing that exists is you as an identity. You are the observer. In any case, though, that was nice, and then, well, no, it wasn't, but Kirby was, because that was very soothing to switch over to, and I very much enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to more Kirby, especially discovering the lore. For example, upon the the beginning of that game, getting a little anime OP was very fun. I didn't expect to see that.
Yeah, my issue with that anime OP was that I had seen on Twitter not 2 hours earlier a photo of Kirby's interior shot of that car
Oh yeah,
with him steering the car with his tongue,
yes, the hand is driving, indeed.
which is
Um,
upsetting.
Tell you what though, what I'm also surprised by is, and this is going to take some real analysis for going forward. Kirby, this is actually it's a bit of a relief, but Kirby is not what you thought he was. It's Kirby developed mouthful mode as a side effect of going through the portal. So mouthful mode is a new development
Oh,
specific to the Forgotten Land
I
that we
see.
don't know the true nature of, right? But mouthful mode was not a thing prior to this game because that was not amongst Kirby's abilities. So
Right. Okay.
they specify that in the lore as you started out, you know.
So he's like irradiated or something by the portal, and it gives him like some
Something's
stretchy.
going on. Something's going on. But you know, freeing very it's very nice. You free the Waddle Dees. You enjoy fun in the sun, and check out some of the new powers. Testing out this new 3D adaptation of the game and such. It's yeah, it's a great time, and then you get some happy time in that, and then you switch back to Baba, and that's how you do it. So I'm gonna be going back into that. Yeah, no, I don't. I think just in my own time for now, since the schedule's pretty busy.
The
But
Baba or the Kirby?
the Kirby,
Oh yeah.
and
I played a little bit of that Kirby myself. It's nice.
yeah,
It's not it's not a way that I usually describe games. I usually describe them in like, I don't know, qualitative terms in according to like their specific genre or whatever. But like playing Kirby was nice.
hmm
Like it's like, oh yeah.
hmm
I am a little like, I wish I could hurry up the difficulty a little
hmm
bit. Like it's like, I understand it's supposed to be pleasant and relaxing, but it's like
hmm
it's way down there. And I'm aware that it gets harder in your, what you would call the post game,
hmm Now,
but
I
it's like
also
a
realized too
little
that
slow.
with the relaxing nature of Kirby games is that I think like the feeling that I never got into Animal Crossing, but I think it elicits a
Mhm.
similar feeling for like people who are into Animal Crossing.
I would say, as somebody who got a little bit in Animal Crossing, it is pretty similar.
Yeah, I'm not into Animal Crossing, but like but I like the things you do in Kirby. I like using the powers and just making your way through.
If I
So, but it's a similar kind of like relaxing thing in contrast to everything else going on in life.
if I had to compare Kirby and Animal Crossing's like emotional throughput to like a day-to-day activity, it would be like humming a song you like with your headphones on while you're like trimming your weeds,
Sure, sure.
or like
Yep.
gardening or something like that.
And
Just
and
like do, 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 da, ba, da, ba, ba, that kind of just pleasant, relaxing activity.
and I like that that's reinforced by the interview that came out where they were talking, to the devs, and they're basically like going, okay, so like, what are some of the things you did since this is the first like 3D, land kind of Kirby game? And they're like, well, so there's some stuff that's like more of a Nintendo touch where you are like visually, it's hard. It's if you can't tell if Kirby's about to touch the ground or not because of the camera angle. Like the controls will just assume that he's closer to the ground than you think and let you jump again, so that's a fun little thing. Or if you're about to shoot at an attack at an enemy that is not perfectly aligned with you, but it overlaps visually with where your cut or your sword is going to be, it'll just take the hit,
Yeah, perspective-based hitboxes is a cool idea.
Yeah, so that's nice. And then then they're talking about how like the design to 3D, they Nintendo asked Hal to be like, hey, can you put more enemies in, because it's kind of a sparse environment in some cases, and you need some things for the player to fight. and they're like, okay, and then they gave it back, and then they added like barely anything extra, and they're like, no, 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 you need to put more enemies in. It's a 3D world means more room for more enemies, and they're like, no, it's we don't want to put more enemies around Kirby. It's too mean. We don't want Kirby to feel overwhelmed. So they're like,
That's
no,
weird, man.
it's fine. Just give him a little bit of a challenge, and that's good enough. That's good enough.
That's weird.
And that's the same way you go through a normal 2D Kirby game. Is like, okay, there's a couple things on this screen, but they'll feel bad if they put too many things, you know? So that feeling of like, you know, wanting to protect Kirby from your own design is like, yeah, that's what I you play this to catch a vibe, you know?
Hey, let me ask you, because you would definitely know. It looks like there's 12 powers in this game. Is that a lot or a little? It
That's a
feels
little.
like kind of low.
Yeah, that's low. That's low. And that
Okay.
probably does echo what I was saying about the engine reset,
Mm-hmm.
right? The idea that switching to a new system means less time for bringing out just more and more powers and advancing the powers. The thing, though, that I know is that there's different levels to them. So
Yeah.
you upgrade them through multiple stages, you know, at least 2 or 3. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
three phases of some of them. So that's perhaps where you're going to get some of the depth and the expanding move list out, you know. But
They
that's
are
definitely
like
low.
I did get some of the upgrades, and the upgrades are great, but they are like more or less like, I mean, the gun, you shoot 2 guns
Yeah,
instead of 1 gun.
yeah. So, and I mentioned it last time too from playing the demo, but like, you know, I'm missing the move list that would appear when you grab any power, pause it, and you get a piece of lore, and then you scroll to the right, and you get like 3 pages of moves per
Mm-hmm.
ability. Yeah, that's definitely on the lower end. Any of these games that are like, you know, in an engine that's been established that they've been working with for a while, you can go to like the arena or the Coliseum and see like the full lineup of powers, and like there's just dozens and dozens, you know.
Oh,
So
I know what's happening here. I don't know why I didn't make the connection the first time you mentioned it. This is Monster Hunter fucking GUXX
that
to World.
to World, that's actually what I said last time.
Oh my god, why didn't I catch that part?
I said the engine transfer game where we've got
I
to
guess
kind
I
of start from scratch a bit, you know.
I guess I didn't think it was gonna. I thought it was gonna be like less extreme. Like, what's your average Kirby power set? Like 50?
Maybe not 50, no, but definitely above 20, you know. And if there's something else going on in the game, for example, if you have like a Robobot, then that's going to have its own combinations too, its own
Mm-hmm.
amounts as well. Um, yeah. You're definitely above 20, below 50, I'd say. For relative comparison, Kirby Superstar has 25 copy abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Return to Dreamland has 23, and Kirby's Adventure, the original, had 12.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense then. Like, that's the minimum they felt they could hit, and then they
And the
threw the upgrades in there as well.
and the complexity, of course, like with each one changes too as well. Where like in some cases, it's almost like you have a 3-in-1 because of all the different things you can do with it. But yeah, good old Curb. Looking forward to some more of that. Um, how far did you get?
I got to like the 3rd series of stages.
Okay,
So
I'd
like
say
past the water world.
okay. If you're like, yeah, there's the game is it tries to put you in a mood. So like it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely not something to play when you're like, yo, I'm looking to get in. You go hard, you
Oh
know.
no, definitely not. I will
It's
say though that like the transformations like continue to like genuinely bother me. Like,
okay.
I made a lot of jokes about it, but it's like the cone one where his like mouth is like stretched over and doesn't get
Oh, the
all the way
mouthful
around the
modes. Yeah,
cone.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and then the ring light. Well, I don't know what to call it,
Mm-hmm.
but the ring one, like just this, it's upsetting to me. Like it makes me upset.
Yes, yes, no. Mouthful mode is, um, I'm, I'm still trying to parse what's going on and what they're going for.